Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session on immersive learning. Looking super forward to talking with you all today, as are my dogs, obviously. So really interesting conversation that we're going to go over today. And yeah, as the laughs come in, live sessions are always great. So let's go ahead and get started real quick and talk a little bit about what today's session is going to be. And Stephen, I'm going to hand it to you for a second as I take care of my loudness over on this side.
Sure thing. So you want to go to the next slide real quick, or we'll stick right here. So today we're going to go through a number of things. We're going to talk about different levels of learning and how you can make really each one of them special with different techniques. We're going to show you a whole variety of products that are out there. And one of the things that we wanted to do is look at industry standards. So we're looking at a whole bunch of different companies, a lot of different things, tools that you can grab, a lot of free ones that are out there. And we're going to show you things that you can build, things we've built, and hopefully get you guys inspired on what you can do, whether it's level 1, level 5, across the board. And we'll talk about what those levels mean as well.
Thank you, Stephen. Great impromptu overview for the audience.
Jeff's gone.
I apologize for my dogs getting involved in that, and let's go ahead and get started. So again, Stephen has quickly said hello, and I will as well. My name is Jeff Curlis, and I oversee sales for the Learning Solutions group here at eLearning Brothers, formerly eLearning Brothers, now ELB Learning. I've been around the learning technology space for over 20 years, and I think what's going to be interesting as you hear kind of the bios from the speakers today, I don't know about a dream team, but certainly some unique backgrounds in this. Mine comes in the form of, knowing very deeply about learning technology, whether it be authoring tools, learning management systems, custom development, and video. And I've spent the last 7 years focused on video and how immersive video can be involved in training and learning. I'm constantly exploring different technologies and super excited about the conversation today. Stephen, real quick, want to say hello?
Yeah, so my name is Steve Baer. I joined the ELB family about a year ago when the game agency was acquired. I'm the chief creative officer, and I focus on all of the different creative across a variety of custom solutions as well as products. And the things that we're focused on are K through 12 as well as corporate education, and really how do you tell fun stories, make them gamified, make them immersive? How do you really bring them to life? Before I was here, I ran marketing for Atari, and that was 15 plus years ago. So I've been doing this now for some time in this space and really enjoy it. Alan, over to you.
Yes, hi. I'm Alan Rust, creative director at ELB, and my job is to kind of oversee all the creative, obviously, that spans designers, videographers, instructional designers. And my background is actually in the entertainment business. So I come from film and television and as well as live events. So immersive learning is something I'm really excited about. I'm new to the learning space. I've been here for about 4 or 5 years. And I'm just super excited about what we've been doing lately, trying to push the envelope of immersive learning, and can't wait to show it all.
Excellent. Thanks, Alan and Stephen. Appreciate that. And I will say I get to check off on my bucket list, co-present with an Emmy Award winner. So off we go today. What I want to talk about today is really and obviously focused around immersive learning. We said no headset required because the interesting part about immersion as it relates to learning is it's getting a lot of play right now, specifically around VR. But there's so many other ways to look at immersive learning, and we wanted to kind of peel back this stigma that you had to put on an Oculus or a VR headset to be fully immersive. There's lots of different ways to do that, and we want to share some of our experiences with that today. We're going to address 3 key questions about immersive learning and talk a little bit more about each one of them. What is the difference between passive and active learning? And just talk very briefly about that, because as we start to move into the idea of immersive learning, it's basically an active learning environment. And what does that mean? What are learning levels, and can they or how do they support the different immersive learning options? For example, we want to talk a little bit about the different levels of creative intervention in this process. And what does that lead us to from an immersive learning perspective? How does immersive learning contribute to the workforce progress? What is it and why is it so special that immersive learning is kind of getting its day in the sun, if you will? And what does that mean for the workforce and for the talent that people are bringing to the table? So we're going to talk about all of those things. We're going to show a bunch of examples, and this is kind of really where we're going to spend the most of our time today. It's great to talk about immersive learning, and we're going to do that. But more than anything, it's seeing how organizations, how topics, how individuals are getting involved with immersive learning. So Stephen and Alan are going to spend a lot of time taking you through some very basic examples, things that you could do tomorrow to introduce immersion or activity into your learning experiences, all the way to high-end, highly engaged, fully involved in immersive simulations. And you'll see them all. And hopefully get your mind thinking about some things that you might be able to be doing on your side. So off we go, and that's the general plan for today. But first and foremost, let's talk a little bit about passive learning versus active learning. This is something that I've spent a lot of time talking about over the last few years. And I think the easiest way for me to communicate, and I think for people to understand the difference, is in talking about the concept of I want to get stronger. So think about this. Any skill, anything that we're trying to train, at the end of the day, we want to, get stronger. We want to, strengthen our knowledge. We want to strengthen our retention, whatever that might be. Well, there's lots of ways to do that. Well, passive learning is this idea that we're consuming content. I want to get stronger, so I'm going to watch a video on how I might get stronger. I'm going to read a book or take a test or talk to somebody about how to get stronger. Passive learning are ways for me to learn about getting stronger, but none of those actions are actually going to help me get stronger. So when we talk about immersive learning and active learning, we're talking about, and we're actually focusing on the actual work to get stronger, lifting weights, going for a run. All of that becomes the active aspect of this. So again, what we're not going to spend a lot of time on today is talking about e-learning and training that's really passive in nature. We're going to focus on the active learning structure that's going to be involved in that. And so hopefully that gets us all level set. I'm sure everybody understands that concept, but if you don't, before we got down that path and talk about immersive learning, really what we mean is I want to get stronger, so I'm going to go lift some weights. And that's what we're going to move into next and showing some examples. So learning levels. What are learning levels, and can they all support immersive learning? So at a very high level, we define, and when I say we, the group here at ELB Learning, we define learning levels in 5 different ways. We start from very basic learning activities called passive learning. That's going to be your typical page turner, to active learning that introduces some activity into the mix. And then we move into level 3 called interactive, where we start to actually build some interactivity into that learning structure. We then move into immersive learning, and you'll see some examples of this, all the way to our level 5 work, which is full out integrated simulation work. Today, we'll show examples of all 5 of these. But when we talk about learning levels, it's really taking it from a very basic concept of an e-learning course, passive, all the way up to full out simulations. And so now I'm going to go ahead and, Alan, hand this over to you and let you talk a little bit about how immersive learning or active learning can start to be integrated at each one of these levels. So let me go ahead and stop this share and let you take it from there.
Sounds good. All right. So I wanted to start off real quickly with some of the tools that are out there, not necessarily ours, but we'll probably show some of the work we've done with ours. But I think, the first thing I wanted to show was Lotties. Lotties is a tool that we've been using a lot when we're trying to bring in some of that more interactive level, if you will, when you want to take and add some motion and engagement to your designs. And Lottie is a great tool because in the past, what you've had to do if you wanted to add animation, you'd have to design your art, hand it over to a developer that would take that and animate it and allow you to push that to all devices. Lottie is a self-contained asset that allows you to push to all the viewports and all the devices that support it. And the history of this is pretty interesting. You can read about that, but I'll gloss over that. basically, the developers over at Airbnb helped push this out and make it basically a free platform or format that you could use in anything. You can, I'm just going to type in medical. And I've got all of these assets that I could pull into my builds. And when you click on any of these, you can see them in action. You can slow them down to see what would this be like if I had it slower? What would it look like on different backgrounds? I can put in my branding background to see if it actually works as is. And additionally, I can actually edit these. Now, you can do this. These are basically designed to be edit or animated in After Effects, which is kind of like a lot of us designers know how to use. We can do that, and we can push it out using the Lottie file plugin, and basically without a developer have this light and tight vector-based animation that can go anywhere. I can just basically copy it here or iframe it into my builds. There's different ways to use it. There's also, let's say I've had a designer or an animator animate this for me, and we've already got this Lottie. I want to edit it, but I don't want to have to send it back to the animator. I just need to edit a quick thing, and I can go into our colors here and say, well, you know what, this shouldn't be red. This needs to be a brand color that we're using. Boom! I'm now tweaking each piece of this, and I'm just going to like quickly grab some colors. I'm editing this live animation, and now I can download that again and put it right back into my build. That's what's great about it. So if you can actually create a catalog, in which we do all the time. Here is just like peeking into my own little catalog of things that we've built for different use cases. You can see we just won an award for our Wheel of Fortune build, and we use Lottie to actually spin the wheel. And I'm going to click on one of these right here and expand it. This is something that this is just one of many animations we did for Everfi. And what's nice about these is that, as you can see, it's actually stepping through multiple pieces within this animation. And that's another thing that's really powerful about Lotties, is that you can not only like have this animated piece put into your build, but you can actually trigger different sections within it. And let me just copy this asset to show you that. If I go into the actual editor, let me get out of this visual editor. Let me go back right here.
Alan, while you're doing that, just one of the questions I just saw come up in the Q&A is whether these are free and shareable. And we wanted to start here because the answer is yes to both those questions.
Yes.
There's a whole library here that's available to anyone to use, and people can make them available. Also, on one of the screens before, you can export these out, and there are many different platforms you can put these right into. We've put these into Lectora, Storyline, Rise, Captivate courses. Like it can go in many, many places. So we wanted to start here because what's lovely about these is not only are they really interesting, but you can also make them interactive, which we might show some as well. Some of them are just to look at and bring the page to life. Some of them are to interact with and start to see the repercussions of your decisions. So anyway, keep going, Alan. So I just wanted to address that question.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely, there's a lot of free stuff out there. You can certainly contract there. This is a great hub. If you want very specific things built, there are people that you can contract right through here that they're making a living building these. I just wanted to show that you can take your Lottie builds and create markers right in After Effects. And each one of these markers are loop points that you can trigger later on. And we've done this for, like, if you wanted to have an avatar that has different emotion states, you can trigger those emotions based on how someone has answered their questions. And we've done that very thing. It's very cool. You can not only snap to a specific keyframe, but you can say, hey, play this backwards to there. So you have a nice transition from the emotions. So it's a really powerful tool. It's free to get started and jump into. Like I said, I have like my own little preview page that I use when I make my own animations, and when I throw them up here, I can use this as a way to send out to the client and say, hey, take a look at this. They can look at it, see if it works. And from there, we can just take the file and put it into our builds, or hand it off to a developer if there's going to be even more triggers happening. Another thing I wanted to show, another tool out there.
Real quick, Alan, before you move forward, just for the audience to know, as a recap to this session, we'll send you access to all of these resources. And as Stephen was just mentioning before, we're going to build in crescendo to some really amazing things. But as we talk about just getting involved with interactivity and animation, that's a great resource for you to have, and everybody here should have access to it, and we'll get it to you. So as a follow-up to this, you'll get access to all that information, and there's more great things to come. But I know when I first saw Lottie's and how to use it, I could imagine a million ways to get involved with free animations and pulling them into content that we were creating. So I just really want to just let everybody know that that's going to be coming your way here shortly.
Yeah. So a lot moving kind of further towards interactive and immersive builds, I wanted to show another tool out there called Stornoway. Now we have a tool similar to this as well, but this is basically about branching videos. So allowing you to watch anything from animated content or live action content, but wiring them up into branching choices. So, and as you can see here, this is kind of one of the powerful parts of it, is their back end. And I'm going to actually dive into kind of, and again, this link will be out to you, and I won't bore you with playing through the tutorials and all of that, but please take a look at this, because we've met with these developers. They're really great people. They're really smart. And a lot of this, is happening out. If anybody has seen on Netflix, they've been doing. If you've ever seen the Black Mirror Bandersnatch, where Netflix has got that, they've also got a couple of animated builds out there where you get to basically choose your own adventure. So this kind of interaction, it really draws the user in. You cannot sit back passively and just watch. You have to engage, right? You have to drive the narrative. And that's what's so powerful about the branching video. And I just wanted to show just kind of their
asked, by the way, Alan, whether this is like Twine. And of course, that's one of the references that we've talked about many times. There is a lot of similarities between what they have here in Twine. So yes,
exactly. I like to call it Twine on crack. So it's really amped up because Twine, you have to kind of like build it, not necessarily code, but it's like markup language to help you build it out. Whereas this is very node based. It's very visual. They call these islands. And right now, I don't have any video content in here, but that's what's really great about this. Similar to Twine, you can just go in here and throw in your actual script elements and add tabs, add in points and out points, and of course, add the what's happening here. Stop, you can cancel a little bit. Okay, fine. You can add the buttons themselves, or you can have the buttons baked into your content, which is what I like to do. I like to animate everything, right? So I like to have my content, my buttons in the content, like let's say in After Effects, I'll add them in. And then instead of having physical buttons, I'll have just blank hotspots that they can trigger. Just allows me to get even more wild and crazy with the buttons themselves. But what I really like about this backend is instead of filling out forms, you're visually seeing how it all branches together. And that's really powerful. Even if you haven't done the content yet, you've just written the script, you can actually, similar to Twine, click through this and actually see how it works and see if it makes sense, right? I guess I did have a bit of content in here, but this is just me testing it out. It's like, click, where does it go? What happens next? And then basically see if it works before you've even shot anything. And that's really, really powerful. And I just love their admin tool here. It's just, there's so much to it. Check it out. They're really great people, and they deserve your attention. One more thing I wanted to show was just, we have a link we put together here of some of the branching video examples that we've put together here. And this one here, I'm going to turn.
I'm James Williams, and I'm a New York-based creative and stylist. And I'm here to show you how you can express and empower yourself with MAC's Lovely Lipsticks. This whole entire video will be interactive, so follow along and make sure you check out the neon boxes. We've got 2 racks.
I'm going to skip this one just because she takes a while to get into the interactiveness of it. I'm going to show you one, just we'll share this out as well so you can see these examples, but I'm going to play this one because it's just a little more fun and they get right to it.
The manager has been out of work since his surprise dismissal.
The fund is really unlucky to get fired. I won't be surprised at all, James, if you get to the job really quickly.
This one.
The manager has been listening to a number of offers.
The board are looking for a candidate who fits their long-term vision.
Ist der HSV. Ein großer und zukunftsorientierter Club. Wir wollen Begeisterung Fußballspielen. Glauben Sie, wenn Sie mitlassen, vor allem stolz auf uns. So Leben wird ausgehen.
Boom. As you can see, this can really be dynamic. I mean, I don't think you can ignore the engagement that this can have. Of course, how you shoot things, how you write your script plays a big part of this. But I think, being able to branch through different experiences is just such a powerful tool. I'm going to mute this just so in case I hit it again by accident.
Alan, one of the things I just want to add also is one of the things that we focus on when we think about interactivity, immersion, simulations is the importance of storytelling. And, I think that the more that you can draw someone in with character development, with relatable content, with something that they can imagine themselves going through in their own world, the more impactful it's going to be in helping them remember it. So that's a lot of what we focus on, is making sure that there's a story in many cases attached to the content that we're building. And I think that there's one thing when you think about immersion or interactivity in thinking about the technology behind it. How do you click? What do you do? What's the path going to be? But I think a lot of it needs to be just, I think a number of us probably on this webinar, presenters and participants are storytellers, and we got to really flex those muscles, because those muscles can pay off in big time.
For sure. The other examples we had here, actually, I don't know what's behind this door. Woo! Okay, so here's another example of, I don't know, Stephen, if you want to
Yeah, I'll cue this one up. So this takes us from if we go back to that visual of the 5 levels, it takes us back from, you have your passive, you have your active, you have your interactive, and now we're starting to get into immersive. And immersive is when we start to have gameplay. I feel like there's very thin lines, by the way, between some of these categories, right? When you think about branching path videos and gameplay, you can get pretty close to each other. Same thing, even as you're getting into deep simulations or using VR. But
well, Stephen, before you go forward, because I'm super interested in this, and I think the audience would be interested in hearing a little bit of your take on that. So when I watched what Alan was just doing, which is basically building video content to be interactive, and we were going through the, hey, I'm going to accept this job with the football team, for example, or whatever, I felt like that was fairly immersive. Now you're calling that potentially more interactive. And I just wonder if you could expand on that a little bit, because I think it is such a nuanced definition between the two, and really you could probably interchange them, but I'm interested in hearing your take on that.
You certainly can interchange them. I think that where it maybe graduates to the next level is thinking about the feedback you're getting. So in that case, you're getting feedback from the other characters, but maybe there's once you start to look at immersion, maybe you're thinking about timely decision making, right? Are you a race against the clock? Is there a point system against it? Is there a leaderboard system against it? Is there prizing against it? Then it starts to kind of shift from an interactive video into maybe more of a game, right? And I think that with those additional components attached to the user experience, it may be it takes us to the next level.
Yeah, and I like how you just said that, because I think about that a little bit related to where we say immersion, right? There's interactivity, which is make a decision. Immersion, maybe make that decision in the time frame that you would need to in the real life, which is now. Like you can't go research this. Like you have to be prepared to answer such a thing immediately, which takes it from just interact with this to you do it as you would be doing it in the real world. And therefore, I'm getting stronger because I'm living this, I'm experiencing it, and that makes some sense. Thanks.
And before we, one more thing before we jump into some of these examples, and I'm previewing some of the stuff that we'll talk about after these examples, but what Jeff just alluded to, I often refer to as the practice playground, right? I mean, the more that you can actually engage with the content, play with it, try it, see the repercussions of your decisions, good, bad, or ugly, ultimately, you're going to learn a lot from that. In many cases, you're going to play it again and do it again and again. And I often find that the people who spend the time to do that, and by the way, that might be a 3-minute experience, it might be a 10 or 20-minute experience, but whatever that time is, the people who do it and do it again often perform a heck of a lot better in the field after doing it. Also, the other thing we see is that the people who start to engage with this much more interactive, immersive, simulated experiences are most times doing it more than once, maybe doing it twice, 3 times. And I always kind of joke, which is with the vast majority of training, it's rare that a learner comes and says, can I take your training 2 or 3 times? But they're making that conscious decision to do that because it's a good experience for them. And they're getting something out of it.
Right.
Let me show you this.
Dr. Neb is a scenarios game created for chess, the American College for Chess Physicians, to help clinicians treat patients with early onset COPD. One of the goals of building this game was to change the stigma of the drug, nebulized LAMA, so that pulmonologists understand it is a good solution to prescribe for many patients, not just the ones at high risk. The goal is to create best practices in having conversations with patients about the drug. This Dr. Neb Scenarios game showcases a series of branching dialogue, virtual conversations between doctors and patients, laid out with a storybook narrative, much like a comic book with voice bubbles. The game walks through a set of interactions with different patients and different experiences with doctors, asking patients a number of questions, listening to their responses, and then making recommendations based on what they hear. During each of the 4 scenarios, players are tasked with selecting choices for each scenario they are presented, and based on their responses, they earn different points and are set down different branching paths. Players must navigate conversations and identify the best response. The game includes a tug of war meter, which moves left to unsatisfactory or right to satisfactory, depending on the player's responses. This indicates to the player their progress throughout the experience. There's also a history button that allows players to go back and review their answers and see how they should have responded to follow the correct path forward. The Scenarios game was built using the Training Architect, a game authoring tool with a library of games that allows subscribers to build games for training and education in minutes. Creators can add images, animations, live action video, and audio. In this case, Chess chose to use an animated style to appeal to their audience. Chess used some of their member positions to define the script, and the game agency, the owners of the training arcade, to animate each scene. The game lives on Chess e-learning portal and can be accessed by all of their member pulmonologists. It is also being used at chess events throughout the year.
Let's pull back on this for a second. So I have a few questions that came up. So one was, I saw in the chat just a question about branch track, and I want to address that. Branch track is a great tool. We don't have to be showing anything in branch track, but branch track is a great tool that does a lot of integration with Lectora and obviously a number of the other rapid authoring tools. That is terrific for creating branching scenarios. This one happens to be scenarios in the training arcade. Also does that. Store and Away does that. There's a lot of great tools for that, and each of them have their own little nuances. But it'd be a mistake not to reference branch track, one, because someone asked about it, and two, because it's a great tool that you should check out as well. In all these cases, though, we wanted to kind of show you some storylines, and I love this example in particular because we have a whole variety of healthcare professionals, a whole bunch of patients, a whole variety of scenarios, and playing through those and seeing how your decisions, with the repercussions of your decisions. This next example is one that we have been working on with Microsoft. We've been building a number of games with them, and you'll kind of see for yourself the theme of this one. We'll then talk about it.
Hey, Alan, before you hit play on that, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Unshare or stop sharing and then click share your screen again and check the box to share audio in the bottom left-hand corner. That audio will come across our speakers as opposed to picking up on your microphone.
Lovely.
So that's a much better way to share that audio, and just wanted to make sure that we did that.
Audio settings. Let me do it. Hold on.
You should just go screen share.
Yeah.
And then it's going to ask you in the bottom left-hand corner, share audio, and you check that box and click OK.
Actually, I'm not seeing.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Let me try
Ellen,
one more.
you need to stop sharing and then start again. And in the screen sharing window where you choose
there we go.
Screen in the bottom corner.
Randy, to answer your question, while Alan's bringing that back up, I referenced a tool called Branch Track, and Branch Track is another tool that it's less gamified. And it integrates right into Lectora. It's really quite nice in that regard. But it's a nice tool for creating story-driven scenarios that branch off. Okay.
Let's see if I did it right, guys.
You did.
Inside a top-secret biotech firm in the hills of New Zealand, history is about to be rewritten. The Heinlocking Key, a secret project, is being incubated. A brilliant team of data analysts, engineers, and scientists is applying data and AI to help resolve a global crisis. In here, data doesn't merely illuminate. Data doesn't just quantify. Data feeds those who need it most. The amazing new game that lets you put your Microsoft technology skills to the test. Data Feeds, a Microsoft Learn cloud game. Coming soon.
So we're in the process right now of building a variety of games, and they've just announced a handful of them, and we can share those with anyone who wants to see those. But what I love about these games is that they're all, once again, very story driven. This is technical training, so sometimes technical training can be level one and can be somewhat of a page turner, or you can make it a lot more immersive and story driven and have and build a whole theme around it. And we've done that in all these cases with Microsoft. By the way, I do want to reference, although Alan, I don't know if you can bring it up, but the audio for that is actually a very cool tool. And it's
talk about. I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, let's reference it, because it's once again it's a cost-effective tool to do audio and to really start to build something around.
I honestly think this is as cool as it gets. So for folks that look at audio as being a challenge, this is a really slick solution.
All right, so let me just dive it. So what you might not have noticed or have thought is that voiceover was actually my voice. So often I do a lot of scratch tracks for our builds, as I'm sure a lot of you do. You throw in a scratch track of this is what should be said. And a lot of times, because I do that kind of voiceover work, it gets kept, right? But a lot of times when we talk about story-driven content, you've got multiple characters, multiple genders, and it's I do use tools like say online tools where I'll hire voiceover actors, and one of those places is I go to use is Bunny Studio, and it's fairly inexpensive to hire voiceover actors and quickly get that turned around with a script. The problem is if you have a story-driven content, there's a lot of inflection and emotion and all these different things that need to be baked into the performance. And it's hard to communicate that to multiple voiceover actors and all the time that it takes to go back and forth, because you're not doing a live session with all these people. So for an example, this Microsoft game has many characters all talking to each other, and they have different heights of emotion and different inflections. I'm just gonna pull one up right here. All of these people are technically my voice. And let's see, this is Abigail. So here's my original voice.
Nice job, Andrea. Are there any more concerns, or can we proceed with Monday's EU launches scheduled?
And here's the voice that I mapped it to.
Nice job, Andrea. Are there any more concerns, or can we proceed with Monday's EU launches scheduled?
So that one's pretty dry. It doesn't have a lot of emotion to it, but let's go into this teaser and see if I can find something that's a little more exciting.
Today, Best For You Organics is an ever-expanding retailer controlling every single step of the supply chain.
Today, Best For You Organics is an ever-expanding retailer controlling every single step of the supply chain.
Now, there's a lot of AI tools out there that will do text to voice. The problem is you can't influence the inflection and the sheer performance. What I'm doing here is I'm recording myself. I'm loading it up into our tool here, which is basically called Respeecher. And if you go to respeecher.com, you'll see what I'm talking about. The actual tool is called TakeBaker once you're actually subscribing to it. And I can go in here and do multiple takes, different projects. I'm going to pull up a different one. John Freeman.
Hi, I'm John Freeman, and I'm the system architect. Let's go over the project requirements.
And here's the voice I chose to map to it.
Hi, I'm John Freeman, and I'm the system architect. Let's go over the project requirements.
So it's preserving all the performance, but I can map it to all these different AI voices. And in addition to choosing different voices themselves, and let me just go into the audition here. You've got all these auditionable voices.
And I think it's interesting that you have the choice to kind of filter there, right? Like, give me a high pitch, give me young, give me male or female, and you can kind of whittle down what you need
exactly
based on that filtering.
Yeah, I'm looking for female. I'm looking for a human. I'm looking for an adult, not a senior. And I'm going to select a low or a mid pitch. Now I've filtered it down to the type I want. Now I can listen back.
All right. Just please hear me out. All right. Just please hear me out.
So there's all these different voices. In addition to picking the voice that you want to map to your voice, you can do even more kind of granular pitching. If you say, I like that voice, but she's a little too high, I need to pitch her down, you can do that as well. And when I say pitching, it's not like what we would do post-processing, like what I could do to my own voice. I could pitch it up or pitch it down. You can only do that so much until it starts sounding fake. This is actually reproducing that voice at a different level. It's not post-processing, just pitching it down, which can sound very fake. And a lot of the tools out there, like AI text to voice, sound very fake as well, because again, you can't dictate the performance. And this has been really useful to me, somebody who sits here and puts together this stuff very quickly. I can do a whole orchestra of people just by myself. And if there's a desire to change the script, I can just upload it and get it down quickly. I don't have to recontact that voiceover artist, repay them, all of those things. So it's a really interesting tool to use, and it's great. Just check that out. It's called respeecher.com.
And I want to jump over to show the last two examples here, because I want to make sure we have some time for a Q&A. But before we jump into these, I just want to reference the fact that I think Respeecher is a great example of a tool that you can use on level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. It can bring level 1 up and make it more interesting. And it's, by the way, very inexpensive to use. And that's one of the reasons I want to show that as well. Some of these tools that we're showing you today are free. Some of them are low cost. Some of them are more expensive. It just depends on what you're building. But this one is one that's very easy to use and cost effective. So I encourage you to check it out.
And Stephen, to that point too, these are ones that we use, and there's been a number of folks that have chatted some other tools out there. There are lots of them, but just knowing the concept, I think, is half the battle. These are out there, and it streamlines the immersion and development process by not having to go out and get talent for all the work that you do. Do it yourself, change the voices, apply them, move on.
One of the things, and so sorry, before we jump into this last one, a theme that we were talking about in preparation for this webinar is the reality is you're going to build something. It's going to cost you money one way or another. It's either going to cost you in your time, right? Or it's going to cost you in a subscription. At the end of the day, you have to pay for it one way or another, because our time is all worth money too. I happen to like some of these tools because some of these tools are ones that we can do ourselves and we can do them fast. So it's a double benefit for us. And I just want to encourage you to play around with all of these. So.
Stephen, you want to tee this up, or should we just play it?
Yeah, so we're going to show you two virtual reality experiences. These next two both happen to use Scenario VR, and they're very different. And we chose these in particular because they're so different. This one is built for IT Cosmetics, which is a L'Oreal company. And what's nice is this was designed, this was all taped with green screen technology. So we brought her right into, I think if I remember, we did this one actually at DevLearn or something like that.
We did. So we escaped real quickly.
It's not like we used a studio. We basically used a hotel room, at DevLearn when she was there with us, and we recorded there, and then we transported it into this environment, which Alan built himself. So let's start there, and you guys can check it out.
Hey, I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Journey Digital Experience, and welcome to Train the Trainer 2021. This is the year we renovate and restore, but I'll talk a little bit more about that at the meeting. I am so excited for you to experience this incredible platform and learn so many cool things. First, I want to take you to the makeup section. Welcome to the makeup section. I am so excited for you to spend some time in here and get a little bit of creativity going on. Welcome to the skincare section. I'm so excited for you to experience and learn all the cool things we have when it comes to skincare. If you have a problem, we want to be the brand that solves it, and that is going to be our bye-bye room. I'm excited for you to go into each of these rooms, learn some cool stuff, and go back to create trainings that will inspire all of your people. But there's one other room that is really important to me, and that is the restore room. The last couple years, and also all the things that have changed for us, have been a little exhausting. So this room, my hope is that you go in and there's some really cool experiences that will help to relax you, to inspire you, and I can't wait for you to spend some time in there. So 7 rooms for you to learn about new information, to get inspired to go back to your country, and also to motivate you to make IT Cosmetics education the best education. I can't wait for you to explore everything and tell me all about it. Enjoy.
This was a really fun project to build because, one, we started with those 7 rooms. Right now we're working on another 7 or so. And
very dramatic pause, Stephen.
Did we lose you, Stephen?
Yeah, I think we did. Very dramatic. Very dramatic. There he is. Okay. You're back.
Oh,
it froze for a second, but go for it.
Oh, okay. I was just saying what's really neat about these virtual experiences is there's not a limit to how long they can be, right? So you can really, start with one room or, start with 20 rooms. And so we really played this out. So Alan will kind of walk you through the builder a little bit.
Yeah. So this is Scenario VR. What's funny is we were just talking about using this for non-VR experiences as well, because of the power of being able to build these experiences quickly. What's great about it is that
Goodbye, wrinkles.
Let me turn off the audio. Let me mute this for a second so I can actually I like these jams. These are kind of nice in the background. What's nice about this is that you can quickly put these together, number one, but number two, you don't have to use VR glasses. As you can see, we can experience this in 360 degrees. You can map yourself and jump yourself all around. Actually, now I will mute this now to be
Is
sure
skincare for you
we're not distracted. But this is designed to do both. So if you want to put on the goggles and experience this in VR, you can, but you don't have to. What's nice about this platform is that not only can you build experiences, you can have, oh man, I'm getting everything. I got one right. Okay. So you can certainly build in all these other assessments, if you will, and those assessments can trigger other things. It can actually push analytics out. And depending on wherever you click or whatever you do, it can trigger a whole plethora of branching possibilities, or you can build it linearly.
And as you're talking about this, Alan, real quick comment to the audience. So Scenario VR is a tool that we have customers use every day to create their own immersive learning experiences. And that's great. What you're showing are ones that maybe might not be built in-house. They might outsource it to a company like ELB to do this type of high-end work. But the great thing about Scenario VR is it does support the idea of building these types of experiences without being a programmer, without knowing all the bells and whistles, but just going through a basic platform to do it. So I just wanted to be clear on what Scenario VR was for the audience.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not a programmer and I'm able to build these out really quickly. I focus on the content, right? So I can go shoot somebody on a green screen, throw this together. Maybe we'll have another tutorial where we talk about how to build some of these spaces quickly. If you're not, this isn't what you do on your day-to-day, as I am not. But I want to show one more within this platform. This is something that we don't have the actors in it yet, but I just have kind of a click through that allows us to kind of see the space. Let me unmute it so we can get all the fun.
White Hat cyber defense organization HackOps has fast-tracked your status to covert operative. Stand by for your requiter, Uncle Lenny. Thank you.
And right here, we have to shoot the person who's actually going to set up the whole thing, but here's another cutscene that we go to. Now, those were designed in Unreal Engine, but now we're using the power of the tool itself. So we've built these spaces, and now I can actually look around. If I had the headset on, I could be able to see every inch of this space. And right now, like I said, we haven't put our actors in, but we'll shoot them on a green screen and add them in here. We've got somebody who's going to be standing right next to us, guiding us and walking out, and then we get to follow them. Okay,
Alan, real quick question about, as you talk about recording in a green screen, are there tools where you can just grab characters that you didn't do a photo shoot or video shoot with and embed them into this experience?
Yeah, you certainly could. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we obviously have the library that you can pull. If you need live action, obviously, if you need your scripted people, you're going to need to shoot them on a green screen. But that's what we plan to do here. We haven't. This is a real new build It's for cybersecurity. And what's great about this idea, and I'll just kind of talk and click through, because this is really meant for the client to sign off on the look and feel of these spaces. There's dialogue happening all the time where someone is actually leading you through here and talking you through what you're going to be doing. Everybody has probably taken some form of cybersecurity education, and it gets really heady, really fast, and it's easy to check out. So what we did was we took their content and we wrapped it in this really a movie. You're inside a movie where you are supposed to become a hacker. In fact, you're faking that you are a hacker and you actually have no idea what you're doing. And what we have is while you're in this experience where they're expecting you to know what you're doing, we have kind of a heads up display AR glasses, which I don't have an example for in here at the moment, where your mentor, if you will, or your handler is going to be basically walking you through how to hack. And it's basically kind of like flipping the script, if you will. It's like showing you or how to hack is going to basically show you how to prevent a hack, right? So that's kind of like how we approach this. And it's pretty, with heady material like this, using, and this is just multiple levels that we've built out so far. Having kind of this storyline to follow is just a great way to take really heady material and entertain you while you're learning. I'm going to try to get through to the next.
Joe on the chat made a reference to Unity, and Unity is, I agree with him, Unity and Unreal are both fantastic tools to use for e-learning. And we over the game agency, the division that of ELB that Alan and I spend most of our time focused on, that's a lot of what we're doing. We're trying to utilize, higher I don't want to use the word quality because it's not even quality. It's higher res types of solutions like Unity, like Unreal, certainly rendering out 3D characters, using gameplay, and these are all ones that if you have the ability to do, I encourage you to play around with, because they're great and they really make a big difference. And then I'll even kind of just jump back to Scenario VR for a second. Some of those Unity and Unreal take a little bit more of a learning curve. Scenario VR is very, very user-friendly, and you can dive right in and try to figure it out without really any technical expertise. And I really encourage people to play around with it for that very reason.
Yeah, real quickly, here's a test that I was doing. I was talking about in that cybersecurity game, we're going to have a heads-up display that for your mentor to talk to you. And this is just my rough example of when you're calling out for help, or they're going to be walking you through. Goes like this.
Hi, yes, I'm Rachel. Nice to meet you, but I really don't have time to talk. If you leave your card, I'll get back to you.
That was some healthcare boilerplate video that I just threw in there to use as a test. But as you can see, you can have the idea behind that, and I'm going to mute this, is the idea is that we wanted you to have, a lot of times you have a lot of interactions on a screen. You're answering questions, or you're solving problems, and having another screen mapped on top of it. And I could do any number of interactions on this screen in front of me while I'm seeing through this. That was the idea behind this AR thing. So that's like, how can we keep the story moving? How can we keep supporting this idea that, you're being tasked to be this operative, if you will, being a hacker, but you don't know what you're doing. So how can we construct you? So we have this kind of AR within a VR environment. And again, I'm not wearing the glasses. I can still experience this in the same way and have just as much fun.
But you could wear the glasses and you could use the paddles on Oculus and others to interact with the content as well. So there's a question in there asking about that. But yes, that's certainly a part of the process.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And as we now look at the time, we've got 5 minutes to go, and there is a lot of chatter and a lot of questions out there. So, Alan, can we go ahead and hit pause right now and just open it up and start to talk through some of these questions, if you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Should I keep sharing just in case we want to show something?
Yeah, you can just leave that up right there. But I just want to kind of start with a couple of conversations. And one is, I want to go back to early stage here, right? We have covered from the very basics, as I kind of seems like forever ago. We talked about Lotties and basic animations that you could bring into learning content, all the way up to highly interactive, three-dimensional VR-like applications. And that's hard to cover all of those topics and feel applicable to everybody on this call, right? Some of you are going to be looking at level 1 and 2 content. Others are exploring level 5 content. Just know that we're trying to capture all of that. And so you've seen a lot of things. We'll send you the resource activity to be able to bring some of those animations into your work. But Stephen, I want to throw you a question that I think is a really interesting one, and one that we even on our side, and we deal with this every day, struggle with: the difference between interactivity, immersion, simulation, and gaming, right? Like, they're all so close to each other. Can you kind of peel that apart and say, what's the difference between an immersive learning experience and a simulation, for example, or a game?
Yeah, well, so I think that there's definitely overlap between the two. But if I were to use the examples, probably that would hopefully highlight where some of the differences is. If you take something like the training arcade games, a lot of our training arcade games, on average, they last, somewhere between 3 to 5, 6, 7 minutes. They're relatively micro game experiences. However, they're immersive, right? You are either meeting other characters, you're being given challenges, you need to answer questions, you see the repercussions of your decisions, but you're fairly in and out. The example that Alan just showed, actually the last 2 examples that Alan showed, are deeper experiences. In the It Cosmetics example, you can really navigate through a whole bunch of rooms. You can meet different characters. You can, test out different things, learn about different stuff. In the cyber security one, that's going to have multiple characters, a really deep, rich script, a number of activities that you need to do to complete it. And it's more about the amount of time that you're spending, the complexity of the user experience, and the depth of the overall story, if you will. Those are probably, I'd start there. There's other ways probably of defining it, but I would start there.
I think, one thing to layer on top of that I've been, with this last one that we showed with the cybersecurity is what we did with that script was what we really wanted to achieve was, when it came to the assessment part, how can we make, because it's usually that's what happens. You do all this great content build, but then you still need to assess people, and you're stuck with a question answer kind of scenario. And we were like, how can we keep that going, keep that immersive feel through the assessment part? And that's what, it really takes just some real interesting thinking to take that question answer and drive it into the story, make it actually support the story, so that you're being assessed, but it doesn't feel like you've broken the chain between the experience and the assessment.
Great point. Yeah.
By the way, there's not only does that keep you involved the entire time, it also keeps you almost little micro points where you have to really think about the content as opposed to think about it at the end. But I think on top of all that, what it accomplishes by doing that is you're learning as a trainer a lot about the persona of the player. You're learning not just about what they know, but who they are, their behaviors, their risk tolerance, their decision process, all that stuff. And quite honestly, that's really useful information if you want to go down a little bit deeper. One of the questions I saw in the in the chat was talking about SCORM versus XAPI versus and you can get really if you're a data geek like I am, you can get really in the weeds and really understand how to utilize your learnings on your employees and deploy them more effectively in your organization as a result.
Alan and Stephen, thank you both so much for this. And just for the audience at large out here, obviously ELB Learning focuses on creating content like this for customers. And we do it from passive learning in level ones all the way to high level simulations like you just saw. So I don't want to go too far before saying, obviously that's what we do. But at the same time, we're here to make you all understand all the things that you can do to introduce immersion into your learning. So today we introduced you to some tools that we'll share information to you about that are free, some that cost a little bit of money, some like Scenario VR that are software applications that you can use to do it yourself. And then we'll always raise our hand and say, if you need help, if you're looking for something like this and need help, this is what we do every day. And we'd love to talk to you about that as well. So really appreciate everyone's time today. We're at the end of our session. It's been a pleasure listening to Stephen and Alan give you a rundown of all the great things that they do. We hope you have enjoyed this time, and we'll follow up. And if there's ever anything that we can do to help you out, please let us know.